A new study by the Secular Policy Institute says that tax-exempt churches in the United States are costing U.S. citizens $71 billion per year in terms of the tax breaks that they receive. The study claims that religious groups receive about $35 billion in federal income tax subsidies, about $26 billion in property tax subsidies, and in addition to that, $6 billion in state income tax subsidies, about $1 billion of parsonage, and about $2 billion in faith-based initiative subsidies. The Secular Policy Institute reports, let's take a look at what they had to say, Lewis. If religious organizations, in other words, churches, synagogues, mosques, etc., were taxed like for-profit agencies, it was found that this could generate upwards of $71 billion per year in tax revenue. And this is the key part. Even if churches were merely held to the standards of other nonprofit agencies, this could generate $16.75 billion in tax revenue per year. The report estimate for the total subsidies enjoyed by religious organizations, but they do not account for tax credits like sales taxes, local sales, and income taxes, volunteer labor subsidy, and donor tax exemptions. Now, this is a really important thing. Many Americans believe that religious organizations require these heavy tax breaks for use in their charitable works. But researchers at Secular Humanism have reported that many popular churches are not really using much of their funds for charitable work. According to Secular Humanism, the Mormon Church, for example, spends roughly 0.7% of its annual income on charity. Their study of 271 congregations found an average of 71% of revenues going to operating expenses. Compare this to the American Red Cross, which uses 92% of revenues for physical assistance and just 8% on operating expenses. The authors also note that Walmart, for instance, gives about $1.75 billion in food aid to charities each year, or 28 times all of the money allotted for charity by the United Methodist Church, and almost double what the Mormon Church has given in the last 25 years. This is the key takeaway, Lewis. On the one hand, we have religious tax subsidies and exemptions as they stand now. On the far other side, we have take them all away. But there's an in-between. You can just give churches the same tax benefits as normal, and that's an insane term to use, normal nonprofits, and even that would garner close to $17 billion more for the U.S. every year. This has to end.
Yeah, I'm guessing that, of course, this all started because we had religious members of Congress, religious presidents, and over the years this framework was established. But it's ridiculous, especially when you're looking at the mega churches and all of the nonsense happening there.
And the increased, remember that churches, and I'm guessing by nonsense, Lewis, churches, in order to maintain that tax exemption, you cannot advocate for the election of particular elected officials or around political issues. Churches talk about same-sex marriage. Churches talk about abortion. Many churches talk about which candidates to elect. They should all lose that tax-exempt status. But as John Oliver recently exposed on his program on HBO, there are almost no investigations done by the IRS of these churches. So although they're not supposed to be doing politics, many of them are, and there's very little oversight. And of course, that oversight costs money, Lewis. The cheaper thing is just take away these extra subsidies. Just at least get us back to where a church gets the same subsidies as a non-religious nonprofit. That would be a start that I think a lot of us would be happy with.
Huge start. I'm totally in favor of it. And not just churches. Let's add that the same should apply to mosques, to synagogues, to all religious, whatever you want to call them.
To all religions, absolutely.
Yeah, to all religions.
No question about it whatsoever. After the break, we will talk about artificial intelligence. Very interesting interview, I think. Stay with us.